Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rapid Results with Andrew Weiss. We have an amazing guest today. I am so excited for Mark Savant. And in case you don't know who this Mark guy is, he is a marketing agency owner focused on putting 7- and 8-figure business owners on calls with their ideal clients via Done For You podcasts. His agency also specializes in YouTube growth and monetization. He's an AI enthusiast that uses AI and automation to save himself and clients thousands of hours. His newsletter, AI Update, is designed to help regular people survive and thrive with AI. And I was also reading through his website, and I love his mantra that he loves making the world better so that the world's better for his family. I thought that was such a sweet statement that he put. But Mark, welcome to the show. Tell us, what's the biggest and best business deal that you're most proud of as an agency owner?
Well, I've been recently really started to focus my agency on results. And I know that sounds obvious, but really putting data and metrics and numbers at the forefront. And that's been, I think, the biggest game changer. It's led to me landing a couple of my larger deals here just in the past 90 days. I think for a long time, I was afraid of numbers. And I said to myself, well, we'll just do the work, we'll do the job, and that's good enough. But as a marketing agency owner, what I realized is that just editing and producing podcasts is not enough, because the people that are hiring me for a reason. The reason is not to have a podcast. The reason is they want to drive leads for their business and they want to generate more income. And so I've really started to put that into focus with myself, with my team. You know, how can we? What is the result that you actually want? How can we set up metrics and tangible goals to achieve that? And that's been a very large impetus and a real large, very significant change in the way that we operate with clients. So getting obsessed with the results has been, I think, the key recently.
No, I love that. I love that answer. So here you are, top of the mountaintop. You've figured out how to build a multi-6-figure agency. I'm sure you'll be making multi-7 figures in no time with your skill sets and connections and how much you serve your clients. So I want to kind of rewind the clock and go back in time and just kind of start from the early beginnings. Like, I doubt you came out of the womb knowing how to do all this, but maybe you are an alien or some sort. But tell us from the very beginning of as far as, because I know you do, range of things from podcast to content repurposing. But as far as the content repurposing category, tell us about how you started to put all that together from the very beginning.
Well, the short version is I didn't like my day job. I want to try different things. And, I was listening to podcasts. I started a podcast, and at the time COVID was happening, a lot of people were on Clubhouse, so I was just kind of getting into the vibe there, and people started paying me to help them with their show. And I was just like, okay, well, I've got some great systems in place, let me just help people automate their programming. But again, just to kind of go back to that point, it is really hard to grow a podcast. And that was kind of the thing that I started out with, is I'm going to help you grow your podcast, but it's very, very difficult to grow a podcast. And I found that, me and my agency was having a problem delivering on that. But I said, well, maybe what we're not meant to do is grow millions of downloads. Like, there are people that do that or claim that they can do that. But I said, what we can actually do is we can actually drive leads to the business. And so that's, again, where my focus has been. How can I actually bring leads to the business? Because here's the thing that I think is relevant, Andrew. The reality is that podcasters don't typically have any money. And so producing shows just wasn't generating enough income. But if I can work with a business owner, we could start creating YouTube videos. We can leverage the podcast as a tool to get them on the call with their ideal client. Well, one client might be worth 25 grand or 50 grand or 250 grand. And so I said, well, let's focus on solving that problem. Let's focus on, well, Mr. Customer, Miss Customer, we're going to build up this infrastructure for you, and we're going to leverage it as a tool to land that bigger ticket client, right? And that I think has been the key point. Is and it's been, and like I said, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. We've made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. Team has made a lot of mistakes. But as I try to shift into how do I get to the 7-figure mark, I think about how do I actually get that result from my customer that they want? And the result, if you're running a marketing agency, your customer wants to generate more income. And so that's been kind of the key, is how can I put more money in their hands, regardless of what kind of agency you're running, a social media agency, podcast agency, YouTube agency, email agency. At the end of the day, you have to be able to get your clients generate more income, more leads, more revenue. And so that is all I'm really thinking about right now, is I kind of try to build this thing out, right? How is my actions delivering a return on investment for my customers?
No, that makes a lot of sense, and kind of like the quote by like Jim Rohn, like you can have anything you want in this world as long as you help other people get what they want, essentially. And just like I love that philosophy too. I think that Bob Proctor talks about that, like money is really just thank you notes for helping other people. Like that's what it is. At the end of the day, is just like a value exchange. And so I'm curious too.
Well, and people again, I just want to say the importance of that, at least for me, is it's really hard to get money from people if you're not able to get them money back. You know what I mean?
Totally, or at least
it sounds obvious.
Value or experience back per se, but yes.
Yeah. Right, but to your point, the cash flow you have coming in, the money you have coming in, is a result of the value that you're actually getting back. So again, in my case, I spent a lot of time thinking that the problem I solved was saving people time producing their show. But what I realized is that like people are producing a show typically because they want to generate income. You're producing a show, you're producing YouTube, you're recording videos, you're posting on social media. Generally, it's because you want to make more money. And so I was focused on this level. Now, over the past year, I started to focus on that higher level of how do we actually generate the cash?
No, it makes sense. I love that. And so obviously how big is your team currently?
On my personal team, we have 7 team members, but I'm working with several different companies right now on projects. And so I'm working with team members on other teams as well to input the right systems, the right automations, the right sales practices, the right marketing funnels, make sure the stuff is trackable, that I can attribute the work that we're doing to the sale. I think that's really important. So I can go to Mr. Customer at the end of the month and say, hey, this is what we did during the month. These are the sales that came through as a direct result. That's an important part. And quite frankly, one of the biggest problems that I have with podcasting as a whole is it's very difficult to show because of your podcast, you got a sale. And I know all the podcasters out there hear me on this because you're living it. You're thinking, I'm doing all this work, we're producing all this content, and it kind of feels like it's kind of making sales for you. But unless you can show customer clicked link, customer bought thing, it's very difficult to keep those customers happy. And quite frankly, difficult to charge a premium at the next level. You have to be able to show the reason you're making the money is because of the actions that we're doing for you. That's how you gain the leverage within that company.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So 7 team members is pretty awesome and pretty efficient. How do you know which person to hire first? How do you vet them? What does that process look like to be Mark approved? Tell us about that.
Oh, well, that's something I'm still working on. Organizational structure is important. And, running a 6-figure agency so there's different requirements, I think, to getting to the 6-figure mark than there are to get to the 7-figure mark. Getting to the 7-figure mark, which is where I'm focused on now, requires better processes and systems. And it's going to require typically, I don't want to say higher caliber of team member, but a shared vision, a shared mission. Like the team member needs to buy into the vision that we have for our team, for our clients. So that's important. But from a quick tactical thing, I think something that's interesting is using AI to screen. So I'm always looking for good talent. And what I'll do is I'll put, if I'm looking for help on a job, I'll put a posting on a marketplace. I'll say, hey, if you're interested, fill out this form. And on that form, I'll ask very specific tactical questions about that job role. So, KPIs, how would you improve these KPIs? What mistakes would you make? What are some common problems that you find? And questions that only someone who is pretty experienced would know the answers to, right? I'll take all those answers. I send them automatically. You don't have to do it automatically. You could just upload it to like a chat GPT manually, but I'll take all those answers from those forms, send them over using Zapier to chat GPT. Chat GPT will look at all the answers, and it'll rank the applicants from a scale of 1 to 10.
Wow.
And then I only look at the top 8, 9, and 10s. I don't look at the 3s and the 4s because their answers were not, they didn't display enough experience, attention to detail, the KPIs. I have an entire YouTube video on it too on my YouTube channel, Mark Savant. And just I walk you through the entire process, but not that complicated setup. And if you're looking to hire for a position, it's just a really, I think, effective way of screening.
No, it makes sense. So you're working with these clients, you find projects that they need help with, you then go on job marketplaces and put an offer out to help find who could best serve you and help you. And then, and I'm curious too, so how do you determine pricing? I noticed on your website, like you don't have any pricing, it's all chatting. Do you have the full like range of pricing, like, oh, they can work with you for $500 all the way up to $50,000, or do you have like some flat fee packages? Like how'd you figure that out?
Well, so that's a good question. And getting up to the 6-figure level, I had my pricing on there. But I've recently taken it down, and the reason for it was I was basically putting exactly what I would charge, an exact package, which was fine. But where I'm at right now is I want to make sure that I'm excited about the project and that it's worth my time to take a client on. So, for example, if I get on a call with someone, I'm like, I'm not really that excited, but I don't want to take on, let me put it this way. I don't want to just take on any client just for work. I want to take on a client because I know I can really get a result for them. I know about how much time it's going to take to get that result. I know the structure that we're going to have to set up. I want to make sure that we're on the same page, and then I'll make an offer. That being said, I am in the process of putting together what we call a big, hairy, audacious offer on my website. That's the only thing you're going to see. So it'll be something like $200,000 for an annual engagement, right? And there's two reasons to do this. A, if someone clicks on that and they're like, hey, I want it, that's a win. I just landed a $200,000 client. This is great. The other thing that it's beneficial for is what we call price anchoring. So, and again, I'm not speaking from experience. I'm speaking from like strategy, where my head's at moving forward. But if someone says, wow, Mark is taking on engagements for $200,000, I can't afford that, but I'll still get on a call. Well, now they're going on to a call expecting that the price is going to be here, and they say, well, do you have anything else? I'm like, okay, well, we can do this. It's $5,000 a month, or it's $10,000 a month, et cetera. So that's the way I'm kind of thinking about putting prices on the website right now for my agency.
No, that's very exciting. I've not heard that term before. Did you come up with that on your own, the big, hairy, audacious offer?
No, no. That was I think I got that from Alex Hormozy, and but the price anchoring, I think it does make sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that I'm thinking about too, Andrew, is if I'm only taking on projects that are exciting, and I'm only taking on projects with clients that are doing typically 7 to 8 figures is the range that I'm working with. You have to be doing at least $1 million a year in gross profit. So or low to mid 8 figures. I find that's like my sweet spot right now. If you're not in that range, it's probably going to be a tough fit, because I've just found that that's the range I want to be in, right? But if someone comes in and like, hey, Mark, I need some help. What can you do for me? I say, well, I don't think it's the right fit because you can't afford $5,000 a month for the services. But I have this digital course teaches you how to do it itself. It has all my SOPs, my links, and I have I have a CRM that's built and uses everything that I do. It's in my CRM. You can use that. And putting together like a less expensive package. So $100 a month, you get my entire CRM, all my workflows, all my email automations. It's all there, 24/7 tech support, five days a week, open office hours to answer all your questions. It's all there. Get it, $100 a month, right? So having a big, hairy, audacious offer to attract people and to anchor my pricing, but then have some less expensive offers that are fully automated through either a digital course or through affiliate links or through partnerships that I have set up and referral partnerships. By the way, let me talk about referral partnerships for just a second.
Please,
because when I get on the phone with someone, I'm always looking for a way to help them. Okay, and selfishly, by helping them, I help me too. And so a really good way of doing that is, we talked about affiliate offers, but through referral partnerships. So if I know, and I'll give you an example, I have a client that is putting on a conference in Orlando, and I said, well, they asked me if I wanted to do it. I'm like, I'm not really a fit for this. Like, I don't want to do the videography work, but I know some people there. And so I went through my Rolodex. I said, who do I know that would want to take on this job? And I knew someone, and I said, hey, I've got this potential client for you. Is that something you'd be interested in handling? He said, sure. I'm like, what's your referral? He's like, it's 10% of the total job. I was like, cool, here they are, make it happen. And they did work together. The check's going to be coming soon. So I was like, this is cool. $500 for just making a connection to $1,000. That's not bad. So this kind of inspired me. And this is the email marketing hack that I'm pretty excited about. When someone gets connected to me into my network, one of the very first emails I send them is I want to refer you business. That's a subject line. I want to refer you business. It gets about an 80% open rate right now. So people open it. When they open it, there is a form to fill out that says, tell me about you. You know, what area you're in, what type of business are you in, how large is your team, just a bunch of different questions to get to know them better. Do you have a referral program? All these different questions. I'm getting about a 50% click-through rate on that. I don't know what the exact completion rate is on the form, but a lot of people are filling it out right now. And then, so here's the magic. When I go into my CRM, when someone says, hey, I'm looking for a Facebook ad specialist, I go to my CRM, I type in Facebook ad specialist, it's going to pull up a list of them, and I can say, hey, I've got a potential job for you. Is this cool? Cool. Yeah. What's your referral offer? 10%. Cool. Here's the person. And so this has been a really, I think, powerful way of starting to build up and already paying off, a way of making sure that I have people segmented, and I know the people that I'm connected with, and I can make connections more easily, generate referral partnerships and referral income that way. So that's something I'm really excited about too, as I start to scale up and try to generate more revenue for the agency.
No, that's very exciting, and I love that idea, and makes sense why it would be a high open rate, high click-through rate. Just like everyone's happy to talk about what they do and happy to bring on more clients. If all they have to do is pay a referral fee, and you're happy because you don't have to put hours of work into it to get paid for that referral. So everyone's happy. So, and then speaking of referrals, like what other lead generation methods do you use to help bring on more clients and making sure that you're staying top of mind for people?
Yeah, well, so there's a lot there. But one of the projects I'm really excited about is I've spent the last several months building out what I consider to be like the most sophisticated podcast automation system. And here's the way it works. So now, just a quick spoiler alert, this process is only going to work if you're really clear on the type of person that you serve. If you're really broad, you don't know the type of person that you can really help, it's going to be harder to make this work. But if you're really clear, I serve realtors in Orlando, Florida. Those are my people. The more specific you are on your ideal customer, the better this operation works, right? So what we do is step one is you build out a podcast or show. It doesn't need to be anything sophisticated. You see people doing this on just on Facebook Lives or on Ecamm Live, and you don't need to have a whole production behind it. But you create a show that is that will attract your ideal customer to come on as a guest. We're not as concerned with audience. We're concerned with my ideal guest, would they want to be on this show? right? So you build out a show that attracts your ideal guest. Then you go out and you look for your ideal customer and you invite them. Say, hey, I'd like to bring you onto my show as a guest. Are you interested? Cool. Fill out this form. Fill out this application. Right. So the way that I built it out, and you could automate the leads coming in a lot of different ways. You could run Facebook ads, right? You see people like Ty Lopez doing this. Other people fill out an ad to be on my show. I'm doing cold email now, which is getting pretty solid response rates. I'm getting like about a 40% open rate, 20% click through rate, about a 5% completion rate, which is very solid, I think, for cold email.
Wait,
but basically, the cold email goes like this.
Do you like mass buy lists of people, or what's your approach to cold email? Because I know there's like 100 ways to go about that as well.
I'm trying some different things, but basically I've been scraping lists, doing list scraping. You'll have to bring me on for a follow-up because I'm going through I'm testing some different things out for cold email. But you can do this through like LinkedIn Sales Navigator also. That's another way of finding, like, maybe for example, you might use LinkedIn. This is another way I'm looking at LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Filter out for CEOs, companies with 20 or more people, United States, coaching and consulting, whatever your criteria. Again, the more specific you are, the better it's going to work out. And you reach out to them and say, hey, you're invited. It looks like you'd be a perfect fit for my show. My show appeals to this audience. I'd love to feature you, highlight you on my show. If you'd like to join, just fill out this application. And the application asks some screening questions to make sure that they're the right fit, right? Again, if I'm looking for someone that's doing at least 7 figures a year, I'm going to be asking, what's your annual revenue? How many team members? Whatever your system is, you're going to ask some screening questions like that. How long have you been in business, for example? Are you growth minded? Or are you coasting? These are some different questions I'd want to ask them. So they fill out the application, and then you can either automate this. I have it all automated in my system right now, but if they hit certain benchmarks, they're automatically approved. They're a guest on my show. We meet, we record, I build rapport. Already I'm starting to see some really hot leads come through on that. Again, check back with me in 3 months and I'll say, okay, this percentage is converted into clients. But I'm really excited about leveraging a show as a way to get on calls with my ideal client. And then I built out all the automations, the systems around it to automate it. I even put a pay to be on the show option. So if people have met certain criteria and they approve to, and they are willing to pay to be on the show, they automatically get a follow-up email. You're approved, book here. They make the payment, they book. So that's been another way I've been able to generate additional income on my show from guests that are willing to pay to be on the show.
No, it makes sense. So how many different income streams do you have going right now? I mean, it sounds like you got obviously your agency, people paying to be on the show, your membership. Like, walk us through each of those. I think that's another thing of building multi-6-figure, 7-figure businesses and multi-streams of income. So yeah, feel free to let us know what all that looks like.
Well, the vast majority of the income, I'd say 80%, comes through client work. So, taking on just a handful of customers, they fit my avatar, they have the right budget, they're the right fit. So that's the vast majority. The profit margins are lower there because I have a whole fulfillment team and onboarding and SaaS products and the whole tech stack. But that's 80% of the revenue, the gross. And then, affiliate links through YouTube, podcast, blogs, they generate some income, some revenue. Sometimes they do sponsored videos that brings in some revenue. That's the benefit of having a YouTube channel with 5,000 subscribers and 1.5 million views. You can generate a sponsorship revenue from that. Referral partnerships generate a little bit of cash. Those are all the main ways. So affiliates, sponsored, referral partnerships. But I think it's best to really focus on, I don't know. It's good to diversify your income, but it's also, good to be like, I want to really maximize this particular income stream as well. Because if you try to focus on doing too many things at once, it can kind of like distract. I'll give you an example of that. I was leading a like a mastermind group. I shut it down at the beginning of the year because it was just I felt like it was detracting from where the majority of my revenue was coming from. And I felt like I'm not able to give a good enough experience. I'm not dedicating enough time to it. I don't want people to associate me with mediocre work. And so I ended up closing it down, but I might start something up again in the future. I don't know. We'll see. Things change, but that's important to me. I don't want my name to be attached to mediocre work. I want when people think Mark Savant, they're like, okay, that's quality work. And I think that's become very important to me as well over the last 6 months.
No, that makes sense. And so talking about, just want to double check we heard everything correctly about your lead generation. Sounds like what works best for your lead generation currently is cold emails, and then also bringing people on your show who would be a potential great client for you, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's been optimal. I'm doing some different things though. One of the challenges I think with agency is you have to be worried not just about sales, but with fulfillment. So you've got sales and fulfillment,
Yeah.
both kind of jockeying for your time. So, not to mention marketing. So, I definitely need to do a better job with generating hot leads through my YouTube channel, through Instagram, through social media. I need to do a better job, but there's always something to be done. One of the things that I think is interesting too about YouTube is earlier this year I decided I only want to talk about AI on my YouTube channel. AI is important. I want to be known as a forward thinker. I'm only going to talk about AI. There's a lot of people searching for it, and I did that, and it's been good. I've learned a lot. But one of the problems I had with that, Andrew, is that because I was creating so much content around AI, all the phone calls with leads I was getting on were people asking me to help them solve problems leveraging AI. And that's not really what my business is. I run a marketing agency, right? We're building the email funnels, we're building the automations, we're building out and optimizing YouTube channels. And so I say, I maybe need to shift it back. So anyway, that's a work in progress.
No, that's very interesting. I mean, how many calls did you have to go through before you figured out that talking about AI wasn't aligning properly?
It was, and just to clarify, I'm not going to talk about AI at all. I'm still going to talk about AI, but it's all going to be within the context of increasing conversions, maximizing impressions.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the real realization was there was just this 1 week where I had like 5 calls with people asking me for these like really niche solutions. And I was like starting to put together all these custom bids. I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm not a software engineer. Like I know how to use AI, I use it, I leverage it. I'm going to continue, and maybe that'll bring an opportunity in the future. But the leads I want to be bringing in are going to be 7, 8-figure business owners. They want to leverage YouTube. They want to leverage podcasts. They want to generate. They have a high ticket offer. Their lifetime value of their customer is at minimum $15K. Like those are the people I want to attract. I want to work with. So anyway, so I ended up kind of shifting my business around. Again, these are I think again, just thinking like, how do I get to 6 figures? Okay, got there. Now how to get to 7 figures? It's like a different problem set. It requires a different type of customer, different type of problems to be solved. So that's kind of what I'm working through right now.
No, that makes sense. And then what about time allocations? I don't know how much like time tracking you do, or if you were to estimate like, how much time does go into managing your team versus helping with fulfillment versus do you do your own sales calls versus doing the sales outreaches? I'm curious, like, what your time is put towards each day or each week.
Well, so important question. I can't say like, well, it's 20% team building, 5% finances, 20% sales. But what I can say is this. I've become much more thoughtful about blocking out time so that I can get in deep work sessions. Because as a business owner, it can be very easy to get caught in the hamster wheel. So what I've done is I've changed up my schedule so I don't get on any phone calls before 10 o'clock. No calls before 10 a.m. Right? Anything and my what I want to do, what I'd like to do is get in at least 1 2 hour deep work session before 10 a.m. every day, and that it kind of gets allocated based um, on what my goals for the week are, what my non-negotiables for the week are. Like, do I need to, like, this week I had to rework my whole Slack channel because I had a problem with Slack and boring stuff, or I'm having a problem with email domains, so I got to go in and fix email domains. That's that's gonna be the first thing I do tomorrow morning when I wake up at 5 o'clock. Wake up, read an hour and a half, fix the email domain problem. Breakfast with the kids, 2 hours, get prepared for team meeting, follow up, and yeah. So anyway, that's a really long way for me to go about saying. Where I'm focused on now is how can I get in as many deep work sessions, which I would classify as 2 hours uninterrupted, focused on solving one specific problem.
Wow, interesting.
And then at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, you're like, okay, I actually moved somewhere. The needle has actually moved. I've actually completed something because I put in these deep work sessions on a consistent basis.
No, I love that. It makes a lot of sense. And with you managing these Slack channels and doing these team management, how did you figure out how to let go of a responsibility? Do you have to personally vet every single piece of content that's done for your clients, or were you able to hire someone that you could trust to vet the work? Tell me more about that.
Well, so it's just not possible to double check every piece of work that goes out. I mean, we're putting out hundreds of pieces of content, right? Now, if I'm working with a client like really in depth, really, they're paying me a premium for my time, I'm much more involved. I'm double checking all the work. Otherwise, I have my team communicating directly with that client, or I have I'd like to get to a place where I have a customer. A client success partner that's kind of playing intermediary. Client success partner speaks directly with client, and then team members speak with that customer success manager. So I think that's somewhere I'd want to go. I think when I talk to other agency owners, they have about one client success manager per 10 customers. Again, the math might change, but right now I have more of a direct connection. Direct lines of communication. And then what I tell customers is, hey, if there's ever a problem and you're not, communication's breaking down, please let me know and I'll get involved. And so when I'll tend to pay a much closer eye is when a problem kind of starts to repeat itself, at which point we either A, look at the systems, set up extra checks and balances, or B, I have to talk to the team member and say, hey, what's going on here? We keep having the same problem. And by the way, I love you. And I'm glad you're here, but just understand that if this problem keeps happening, we're going to lose this client. The client's just going to leave.
Yeah.
So if that client leaves, that means you're going to make less money, right? You're just going to make less money. And then when we have to be, let's focus on over delivering for this client. It's good for me. It's good for the client. It's very good for you too. We have a mutually shared interest here. So that's the way I'm looking at quality control and delivering. And so this is another kind of cool thing that I did recently as well. Being in content creation, a lot of business owners are using AI to create content now, and which I think is great. But there's two issues there. One issue is that it devalues what we do as in creative work, because the first thing a business owner is going to ask is, why would I pay you $2,500 a month when I can get Descript for $100 a month, right? And so this is where the results matter. It's, we're going to get you a result that matters. So we're going to go in and we're going to make sure that that you have a thumbnail, that we've got GIFs and music, and it's licensed music. And so we're making sure that we're putting that extra juice, because the problem that we're seeing on social media now is because it's so easy to create content at scale using AI, everybody's doing it. So you have to put juice on the top of it. You have to put extra effort into it to make it pop, make it stand out. And so that's kind of where that's the way we're tackling it now. And so what I did with my team is I kind of talked to them about that, and they all understood. They're all creators. A lot of them, subcontractors. They realize that AI is taking up a lot of a lot of the space. And so what I said is, I want to have a competition. Don't just pump out average work. Every week, we're going to have a competition at our weekly team meeting. Whoever pumps out the best piece of content for the week, you're going to get a bonus for the week. I'm going to give you a bonus, paid bonus, recognition amongst the team, competition. And I'll tell you what, Andrew, when I started doing that, immediately the quality of the work got better.
Wait, so
the shorts got better.
With the bonus stuff? Say that again?
The moment I had my team, I put the pressure on my team and had a compensation structure that incentivized higher quality work. The quality of the work improved.
What did that look like? Can you give me an example of what that looked like?
So we measure
quality work. Yeah.
Well, what again? It's really easy to use AI to just create a clip with AI, create another clip with AI, write a blog with AI, make an image with AI, right? But it can create this sense of complacency where you're just like, I'm just doing the work, right? But like I said, you need to be putting extra juice. If someone's going to be paying you $1,500, $2,500, $5,000 a month for your services, you can't just be spitting it into an AI program and taking it out as a creative.
No, you can't just copy and paste. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've got to be great at what you do. You've got to be able to clean up the audio. You've got to be able to find culturally significant GIFs and celebrity clips and insert those on top. You have to be putting audio that's copyright free into the clips. You need to make sure that the words are popping out. You need to make sure you have pattern interrupts. You need to make sure that you're zooming in and zooming out, and all that stuff matters. And so this was a problem that I had with my team is the work was a little bit flat. And so I said, hey, everyone elevate, A, because we want to keep the business, but B, because you're putting in extra effort, I'm going to have a clip of the week contest each week. And so the clip of the week really helped to elevate the piece of work. And I had one of my biggest clients just this week send us a message in Slack. He's like, holy crap, this is amazing, because it was just like a perfectly timed, it was just a perfect, I don't know how to explain it, but we were using some perfectly timed video effects that like really enhanced the video. And so that was pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know. That's the kind of stuff I think that's important to making it pop is finding ways to incentivize the team to go above and beyond, Yeah, shared vision, comp structure.
And I'm curious too, do you have a secret weapon platform that you hire people from? And a lot of people use Fiverr and Upwork, but is there any other secret hiring platforms you're aware of that most people don't know of?
Online Jobs PH is good. I get a lot of people that request to work with me, so I put them into a folder. I've worked with people on Fiverr, Upwork. Those are cool. I think, and so I mentioned earlier that I was thinking about right now I'm trying to land big jobs, right? I want to be working with people at $5,000 a month minimum. That's kind of like where I want to be, like $5,000 a month. That's where I want to be. And so to work on projects like that, there needs to be a pretty high caliber of team. You can't just hire someone on Fiverr. I'm not saying you can't, but it requires a lot more training, right? A lot more quality control, a lot more personal. And you mentioned that before. That's a challenge with scaling is you need to have people that are really, if you want to work with someone that's going to pay you $5,000 a month, you need to have people on your team that want to be the best at what they do. They want to they love it. They want to be great at it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So one of the things that I've been, I talked about having a group earlier, having a mastermind program. I've been thinking about opening up a mastermind program again in order to attract people that want to be great, and then try to find people in there saying, you want to be great, you're doing good work, we get along. What would you think about working with me on this project? And then, so that's the way I'm kind of considering, because a couple of the clients I'm working with that's how they found some of their best team members, is through communities and trainings that they've done. And these people end up being a good fit to work with them. So that's something and frankly, I'm thinking about considering reaching out to some of the people I've worked with in my mastermind before and saying, hey, what are you doing for work? I got this cool project. You want to work? You want to help me out with it? So that's something I'm looking at too.
Oh, I love that. It makes sense.
Is a way of finding talent out.
Well, I know we only have a couple minutes left, so last couple questions, and I'll put stuff in the show notes, but tell the audience, how can we best contact you and get a hold of you and reach you and all the above?
Mark at marksavantmedia.com. That's my email. Shoot me an email if you want to talk. I wish I had a great lead magnet. That's something that's in the works. Mark at marksavantmedia.com is where you can find me. And just to kind of go back, you talk about hiring and finding talent, Andrew. The other advantage, back earlier in our conversation, I mentioned that I'm collecting data and information on people via the refer you. I would like to also leverage that as a way of finding new team members or new people to partner up with. So that's another benefit, because now I have people that are being cataloged in my system, of Google Ads specialist, right? I need a Google Ads specialist. Hey, Jim, you want to partner up with me? How much would it cost to work with you? What percentage you need? How much do I need? What's the profit margin I need to factor in? So yeah, that's another way I'm trying to find talent.
Oh, I love that. And then the last question is, what's the one takeaway you want someone to have from this conversation today?
Oh, top takeaway. So I'm reading a book right now called Become Your Future Self Now. And that's something I think a lot about. When I read, when I pray, I'm thinking about what is the right path to go down? Because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it's not always obvious what you should be doing. There's a lot of things that are competing for our time. But the book I'm reading, Be Your Future Self Now, I really like it. And I've been thinking a lot about it, because knowing where you're going is the best way to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we don't know where we're going, it's going to be really hard to actually end up where we want to be. So I would encourage everyone to really think about who do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? What do you want to be achieving? And again, that's hard. I'm not going to say that's an easy, simple thing. But one of the exercises in the book that I think is really powerful is to sit down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you want, 2 minutes, and sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and write yourself a letter from yourself 10 years in the future. So what would yourself 10 years in the future, if they could write you a letter, what would they write you? And just do that. You don't need to overthink it. You can start doing it. I would encourage you to do it right today, right after this call. 5 minutes, pen and paper, write yourself a letter. And when I wrote myself that letter, it was really kind of eye-opening. And it definitely helped bring into focus where I want to be. What am I doing? What was my morning like? What's my afternoon like? Who's with me? And those types of questions started to come into focus, and it brought some clarity. So I think that would be the best piece of, I don't know, that's the best piece of advice I have, because that's what I'm struggling with and working on now, is what am I doing 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What am I doing? And how can I give myself better advice today?
No, I love that. And I do hope that you're currently proud of yourself too, Mark. I mean, you have a family, you're running a successful business, and you're doing a lot of amazing things. And that's why I was super excited to bring you on the show today, because of all the wisdom you have. And you're definitely living a very inspirational lifestyle. But obviously, what's life without growth and continuous growth all the time? So thank you so much for coming on today, sharing your wisdom and peeling back behind the curtain a little bit for all of us. Really appreciate it. So make sure to reach out to Mark at marksavantmedia.com. Check out his content. Definitely hire him. He's been awesome to work with when we've hired him, worked with him as well. So thank you again for coming on. Appreciate it.